Hello and welcome to a humble Highland home. Thank you so much for joining me here today. The rain is never far away at the moment and there is lots of lying water in the fields. It has gone down a little bit, but there's still so much coming off the hill, and eventually this all ends up in the river. The river is not normally this wide, and if you look closely you can see the tips of the fence posts that marks the edge of the field. The burn that runs along the edge of the garden and the driveway rose up to the arch of the stone bridge and was also splashing over the top of our little wooden bridge at one point. I noticed that the old tree that holds one end of our washing line was leaning over a lot more than normal. So I'm checking it out as I don't want the weight of the tree snapping the washing line. This is also where our fairies live, so we need to make it safe again, as at times we do have little people playing over here. The falling tree is currently being supported by the other two trees along with the washing line, so we will need to take it down and make this area safe again. Not today though. We shall add it to the list of jobs to be done. Last year I did a video called Simplify and Finish What We Started, and this was planning out what we hoped to achieve and our focus areas that we wanted to finish off during 2023. After reviewing what we did last year, some things we finished, some things we made progress on, and some things we didn't even get near. And these are just some of the bigger projects that we're doing, and sometimes other priorities take over, like now we've got a tree to cut down and clear. But at least that will help us with one of the projects, is filling the log store. One of the benefits of finishing off some of the things that we've started is so that we can use up the materials that we've already bought, and so that we can get the benefit of the materials that we've bought by getting these jobs done. I have to admit, I'm the one that can be a little bit over ambitious with what I can do in the time that I have, but I always have a plan. And I like to have a plan that I can tick off so that I can track progress, because sometimes all you can see is the things that you haven't done. And I like to be able to celebrate the small wins of the things we have done. So this year, Adam will be hoping to finish the log store and shed, and then fill the log store of logs, and also finish lime mortaring on the house. And I will be focusing on the kitchen garden plan, putting in the garden steps and filling gabion baskets and building walls. The garden steps were on my list for last year, but I didn't get near these at all, and I really would like to see a nicer view out of both of the kitchen windows. It is a very big job and there's a lot to it, but it will make such a difference to our lives having the garden steps and all the rest of this associated work completed. I think secretly that's why I've been putting it off, choosing to work around it, especially given that last year one of my main focuses was growing food. And this is also part of my plan for this year. But as I start to use some of the rocks and stones to build the walls and fill the gabion baskets, it will then give me the space where the rocks and stones are currently being piled to extend the growing space in the kitchen garden. Here's Kebby and Baloo, obviously working very hard. I think they've got the better idea, trying to find a cosy place on this wet day. If you haven't seen any of our previous videos, all the rocks and stones have been dug up out of the garden as I choose to grow directly into the ground. So I've had to remove all the rocks and stones and then rebuild the soil. But I don't like to handle the rocks any more than I need to, so it's time to put them to good use. But before I can do anything, I need to clear some space so I can work safely and not have so many trip hazards around. Now I put the black plastic sheeting down to prevent the weeds from growing, so I wasn't just clearing the same space over and over again. I also need to clear all the foliage and shrubs and the weeds that have gotten through, so we're not just spreading the perennial weeds around. Then it's time to do lots of digging, moving the stones and soil and making space for the next new step to go in. This is where all the steps will go eventually, and at the top this will become a growing space again, but I'll definitely be making it more user-friendly and easier to plant in. It is unfortunate that we can't even get a small digger in here, so it's going to be a shovel and a pick and some sweat equity for this job. But it will be good to see some progress, and we will be able to gain so much space back, which will help with the courtyard garden plan. You do have to have a good imagination to visualise what I would like it to look like, and also to function like, as I aim for everything to work together in a smooth flow as per the principles of permaculture. Everything should work in harmony. One of my items on my list is to continue working on the kitchen garden plan. And part of the plan is to clear this far end of the polytunnel, as it has been quite hazardous to work around. We've still got 2 tree stumps and there's lots of discarded stones as I've worked on the garden and I've thrown the stones to one side. I have already been clearing some of the foliage from last year's weeds growth, so I can see better what I need to do next. There's an old stone wall that needs to be reinstated, and there's a new one that needs to be built, and also a pathway to put in and a couple of steps. So there's lots going on in this area, but I break it down into one little bit at a time because I'm only one person and I can only do so much. This is the wood and rock pile that sits at the top of where the new steps are going to go. So once these have been cleared, this is where the steps area then links in to the kitchen garden. Once I've gained this space back, I should have space for another growing bed, maybe 2, and hopefully a perennial growing area as well. It's exciting for me to see that we've already got signs of life in the perennial garden. The bed next to the greenhouse with the first of the tulips coming up from its winter slumber. I had hoped to clear and de-stone this area of the perennial garden, ready to split part of one of the rhubarb crowns and replant it, but I ran out of time, so this is part of the plan for this year, especially given that rhubarb needs a few years to get established before they start producing a decent harvest. So that's just a wee look at the 3 main areas that I will be focusing on for 2024. Let's go and have a look at what Adam's going to be focusing on. Adam would be the better person to explain a little bit more about the log store, but we can go and have a wee look just now. I am absolutely delighted the way the log store and shed is turning out. I found it difficult to visualise it from a paper plan, but actually seeing it come together, it is going to make such a difference to our lives. As you can see, there are 3 main bays which will hold 3 years worth of logs. So we will know that our firewood is well seasoned before it goes onto the log stove. And the shed will replace the green shed, which is falling to pieces and will become multifunctional, but it'll be more garden related. There's still lots of things to finish off, but when it is complete, we will appreciate it even more. And hopefully Adam will pause for breath before he starts his next priority of the year, which is to take off the old render and cement of the outside of the house and replace in the mortar using a traditional lime mix. This will allow the walls to breathe again. Up till now, it has been a very labour intensive and time consuming job, which Adam has persevered with. To finish this job, there is just the rest of this gable end, a small wall at the back and 2 chimneys to do. It doesn't mean to say that it's going to be easy, but we both can't wait to see what it all looks like once it's finished. That will be a day to celebrate. They are our main priorities for 2024. But I also know that there's some other projects that I hope to do alongside, which shouldn't take quite as long, but you never know. As always, I invite you along for the journey. But for now, thank you so much for joining me here today. Take care of yourself and others, and I'll see you in the next video.